Okay, so today I'm going to teach you guys how to play all the way from early game all the way to end game in solos, so hopefully you can make your first earnings in the Vujcich cup that's happening right now.
Let's go! You're the best, Teckoh!
Okay, so first of all, early game. I would suggest that you land a POI for these tournaments, at least for the qualifiers. While there are many good reasons to this, which, well, it's got better loot, obviously. But also, another thing is, like, you'll be less likely to die rotating out of a POI, because when you rotate out of a POI and go, like, around it, rotate away from it, then obviously the players around you are going to be landing split drops, so they're obviously going to be probably more scared or careful about the people rotating out of that POI, which will be you. And they'll be less aggressive in general because they're landing a split drop. And obviously, if you land in a split drop, the POIs around you are probably going to be likely to key you, and you're going to be more likely to die when you rotate out. So yeah. And also, when you do land these POIs, make sure you just pick a POI. It can kind of be really any POI. It doesn't matter too much. But then you need to kind of pick a section of it that you're going to like loot most of the games, or try aim to loot. Like a small section of the POI, because you're not going to fight for the whole POI, kill everyone in it, right? You're just lining the POI to get like a max everything loot. That's it. That's also another really good thing about lining in a POI in solos, because if you're like lining in, you're gliding in, and you see another person going for the same loot as you, if like another side or section of the POI is uncon, then well, you can just swerve off and take that and then play the game. Which, while if you're in a split drop, that is just not possible. Now, once you've left that POI with max all mats, max all loot, like perfect everything for in-game, you're just gonna probably be wanting to just hide if you're not very good as a player, or like, you should probably just be doing it in general just because it's way more safe, especially if kill points are low. You might as well hide and get in-game consistently. So if you're doing that, bushes are going to be your best friend, and dead side. But yeah, obviously if you need surge, then well, don't do that. But yeah, the optimal thing for mid-game, like the optimal plan that I would like do every game if I could do it, would be to, well, get max loot, max mats, everything out of your POI, then rotate out, go like kind of dead side-ish on first zone and go into a bush and just hide until second zone pops. And then when second zone pops, just do the exact same thing, kind of go dead side-ish in second zone and just find a bush. And if second zone or first zone is like centered, so there's no like dead side, then like kind of go to the middle of it, but don't go in the exact middle, because if you go into the exact middle and hide in a bush, then what's going to happen is other people are going to go to the center and they're going to pick the same bushes. Like there's going to be a lot more traffic through the middle of the zone than like if you kind of stay out but you're still kind of in the zone a lot, you know? Just make sure you're picking bushes that aren't so obvious. And then when third zone pops, once you're in second zone, you need to instantly hook it to the very middle of third zone. So when half pops, you should be having almost couple mats, like minus like a base or a couple builds. But also remember, do not tunnel vision on this game plan, because it's good to have like an overall game plan that you can do, but you need to be realizing that you have to be really like lenient on it, and like be really careful in understanding that depending on many different variables, you might have to do something else and it might not be the best play to do the game plan. But this is still a good general thing to aim for every game. Also, this next device I'm about to give you is the most important thing that you could do that will like give you such a big noticeable difference in your confidence and skill in any solo tournament. Grind solo arena, please. And when you're playing solo arena, make sure you're landing the POI that you're landing in a tournament, so you can obviously practice and understand it, and then just keep everyone you see, no matter how good they are, and your confidence from that will shoot up so much. You'll just notice in like actual solo tournaments, like when you come across people and have to fight them, your confidence is just way better, because fighting in arena is almost identical to the tournament. So please, before you do anything about trying to get good at solos, make sure you grind solo arena. Now, in-game. Now, in in-game, solos are so much different to duos and trios. There may be similar things that you do on both, but solos is so much different, so get all of the past playstyles from duos and trios out of your head now. In solos, you need to save so much more mats, obviously, because you only have 1k mats to yourself, but in solos, it's actually a lot easier to do this, because think about it, like say you're rotating as two people, and like you're both going at different speeds and like having to catch up to each other. Like think about you being the IGL and you have to top for your teammate behind you. You know you're going to build more so you can keep him safe, because if you're both going at like the same speed but you're actually at different points, like how safe you feel at the front with your builds is going to be different to how safe your teammate feels with what you're placed, because you're rotating through the same places at different times, if that makes any sense. Because in solos you can kind of just run forward and just like build off random little spots at the exact perfect timing, because you know exactly where you are and what you need to build to keep yourself safe. So it's just so much easier to save mats in solos, so you need to be abusing that. The general like playstyle for solos would be to, first of all, make sure you have around 1k mats at the start of first moving zone. That's a really good goal to aim for. And then make sure you're kind of starting on a high layer if you can. That's really important as well. And then what you need to do is wait for zone to get ahead, and then when zone gets really close behind your back, you need to either use your rotation, obviously. Like if you have a hammer in this season, obviously use that. That is so OP. But if you don't have rotation, like maybe you're watching this in another season or you just don't have a hammer, then what you want to do for solos is, since you're in a high layer, what you can do is just edit out and like kind of parkour, run along old builds, look for old tarps, look for these sneaky ways to save mats. And I find it so much easier to do this when you're in like a really high layer, because when you're parkouring along the builds and stuff, there's obviously like up higher in the zone and like elevation, there's a lot less people, so there's a lot less chance that you're going to get shot and be in danger if you're not building much. And basically you just keep doing this, like stopping, going, and in between the stopping and going, you're just parking along the builds or you're using your rotation. Your goal in solos, if you started the like first moving with 1k mats, is that you should try to be getting to like around third moving, or maybe just anywhere like later in the endgame like that, like at least survive the first and second moving zone, and then still have like a handful amount of mats left, so you can use that to get a refresh, because it is so much easier to get a refresh in that later part of the game than it is in like first and second moving zone. Also, a side note, like that's a really important thing how I said about the aiming for 1k mats like for first moving, and like knowing that's a good amount of mats to have, because if you do find yourself with less mats than that, you know you need to aim for a refresh earlier. Like say you have 500 mats at the start of first moving, I know that I'm gonna have to do something weird and different in the first and second moving zone, like either looking for like a really long tarp, hardly building somehow, like saving mats some ridiculous way, or just getting another kill in the first and second moving. I remember kind of basing my in-game playstyle around how many mats I had at the start of first moving, overall, like as a team or just as a solo. Your whole game, from early game all the way to the start of in-game, should be setting yourself up so you have enough mats and everything to get yourself through first and second moving without having to take any risks on fighting anyone. And also another few things about in-game and solos is genuinely you want to be taking height later in the game if you're planning on that. And taking low ground is a lot different to duos and trios, because taking low ground in solos is so much easier, like just to round me take it in the last couple moving zones. Okay, now I'm actually going to go into game and show you a few examples so I can help you guys visualize it better. These games are actually submitted by my viewers in my Discord, so if you actually want to be VOD reviewed in any video, usually I actually do these in viewer VOD review videos like separately, and if you want to join that Discord and be VOD reviewed in any video like this, then just go into the link in the description and it'll show you what to do from there. Okay, so this viewer actually lands at Brutal Bastion. Actually, he lands on this top side this game, and it looks like he just fought whoever landed on this side and won that, and they just looted up and then he went. And then I say for him, he's there. In a zone like this, I'll probably from Brutal Bastion go like kinda over here. I know you probably won't make it in time to like a spot over here, which would be optimal. As long as you're like kinda going over there and like getting access to dead side, it's fine. You just need a bush, like a bush anywhere around here would be fine, you know. It's like you notice now, he's just curved so far up there, which is good. He isn't sitting like in a bush or anything, which is, I think he's pretty confident fighting, like he knows people, so. But I feel like if points aren't worth much and you're not a confident fighter especially, you just need to be hiding in bushes, because you know that you're going to keep dying if you keep people. And then at this point, I think he's here. I'll probably just kind of rotate down here, curve in here, maybe probably make it to there, and then just sit in some bush around here. Like he does end up at this tower. It's like okay for him because the lobby's only 42 people, like everyone's pretty bad and he's pretty confident, but the more optimal thing for him to do would have just been to go like around here. Another thing I should note as well is that if you don't want to be in a bush or something, or you can't, being just in a really high up spot would do the same trick, because even though people will see you and know you're there, they're not going to kill you because you're so high up, and it just makes it hard for them. And imagine you're in the position I said, just the bush around here. Like imagine this guy here, imagine he's in a bush, he's just been chilling, no one's seen him over the whole game, and now he just instantly hooks in when it pops, instantly hooks in as far as possible to the very center, maybe even up on that hill. Then he kind of rotates over here and gets up here and stops here. When like, thing is, in this type of lobby, it would be fine. I think it actually probably was a better decision for him to do this, because if you do base up here and he has a hammer and there's 34 people in this lobby, think about when next to him pulls, there's probably going to be like 30 people at the most, and then with a hammer it's just going to be so easy to rotate that in anyway. But the one thing about this position is it's very keyable, right? Like imagine there's a pro player coming up here and they see you there, they might fight you, because they could position themselves here with backside against like zone closing in, so they wouldn't get shot from behind them, and then they could key you here. But then imagine you do get in like a really deep position here. If someone keys you, they're gonna get destroyed and muck their game up. But the thing is, I think the reason he positioned himself there is because before he was positioned in this place here, which is like really hard to get into center third quickly. But as I was saying, if you did position yourself over here, you would find it very easy to instantly rotate into center third before people sit up, so you could actually get in there. And then basically here, the thing I do not like about what he just did there, I bet a lot of people would see it, but he rotates from here, I'm pretty sure, and he like goes up here, hammers, kind of lands here, and I thought he was going to hammer here and land up here, which would be a great position to be really high up. Like I said before, it's really good to be on high up, because if you're on high up and half, then you're going to be high up in first moving. And then he ends up positioning himself down here, which is like a really bad spot for many reasons. I'd rather you guys be going up really high and half, that's really good, because you want to be high up on first movement, like I said. And then basically there, from his like original spot, he hammers all the way front side, which like I'd say it's pretty dodgy, because if you hammer it this time like really early, like 10 seconds or so before first moving actually goes, the thing is everyone's already based up, so if you are the only one moving, then they're all going to look at you and shoot you. So I'd say you probably want to move like 2 or 3 seconds before in a situation just like this. I mean 2 or 3 seconds before zone starts going. Basically, in an optimal situation, I would have been like in a higher position, like maybe this guy. This is pretty optimal. And he is waiting, just like I would, till zone is almost on his back. Like give it a little bit of room for any error you may have. And then hammer, or just rotate, and then get all the way front, just fully focus on getting front side. And like he just hammered all the way in. He did land on a low down spot, which is what I don't like, but he is hammer, so I guess he can break through. But yeah, optimally would have hammered from there, gone all the way front there, landed on a high spot, and then waited till zone gets my back again, and then hammer forward, land on another high spot. Keep doing that. And if you don't have a hammer, then you could probably just like, say you're positioned here, you could like run along these elbows, jump down here, run along, jump down here, maybe place a couple bills along your head, and then ramp up, finish on a high layer. Like just some like weird running around parkour, placing a low build here and there type of playstyle, you know? And you just gotta repeat one of those strategies. You can kind of like do this strategy now and get away with it just playing low layers, since they have hammer and just breaks through everything. And then basically, like after second moving, if you've got that far without using much mats, it's just going to end up being a thing of just a bunch of micro things that you gotta know, just fighting and stuff. And then eventually, generally like last moving, or like the moving before that, you'll be wanting to look for low ground or high ground. Like in solos, you can kind of get high ground a lot earlier than you would get low ground.